Not got your hair. Welcome, residents, to Dr. DC Podcast. What?
Yes, welcome, residents, to Dr. DC Podcast.
This is most podcast of all podcasts. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor.
Привет. Я живу Dr. DC.
Нет, нет.
Нет, нет.
До свидания. Each week.
Мне нравится это podcast.
Can you say each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you?
I think you just about nailed it. I'll let you have that one.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Sweet. Hey, I know Russian. Wow, who would have thought?
You did it.
Oh my God. Oh, in my head it's English, but it's just coming out Russian. Yeah. We've got a review.
Hey.
5-star review.
Nice.
Number 85. But really, like...
I think we're at 95 now.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
95.
That's...
May or may not be a magic number. You'll never know.
Yeah. But let's get to 100, just to be sure. And keep going. Apple Podcast USA from Alfred Did It.
Oh my God.
I know you've been talking about me.
Monarch Theatre, perfectly situated next to a convenient alley, 5 stars.
Yeah. These podcast thinks they're going to talk about me. Alfred did it, and he'll do it again.
Oh my God.
And he'll do it again.
If we get to 150 reviews, he will do it again.
I'm the one who knocks.
Heisen Alfred?
Heisenfred?
Oh, that would have been better.
Yeah.
Damn it.
That's what effort gets you. Subject, 5-staros.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. They go on to say, these guys are the best, and this podcast fuels my love of DC. Come for the knowledge, but stay for the sweet release. Oh my God.
I mean, if you tune in every week to see whether or not that's the
kill
episode,
ourselves.
I guess I'll take it as long as we keep getting those downloads.
I mean, based on the way our Patreon has gone this week, I mean, it could be. I mean, this month, this could be really the week.
Yeah,
but you got to pay $5 if you're going to get that kind of content.
Yeah, at least $5 for us to kill ourselves.
$5 foot long.
Oh no.
Foot long is the size of the
pistol,
the coffin.
It's like the novelty long pistol, like Jack Morrison in the.
All right, this is a lot. So I feel like we don't. But first of all, news wise, it's a lot. So we're gonna do a separate thing.
That'll be its own little thing.
Yeah,
because a lot has happened. Of course,
we'll do a whole other episode for that. But fucking, you knew what you were doing when you brought this up. I know.
It has come. We've come to it at last. The great battle of our time. The final crisis of this podcast, which is discussing Final Crisis. And only Final Crisis.
Yeah.
Not just it coming up tangentially because we're talking about Morrison or talking about New Gods or talking about events or something like that.
Yes. It's interesting because it's not like this is the first time it's come up on the podcast.
Definitely not.
For sure. Like, I'd been like sort of tangentially aware of this for a really long time. I think the difference was like I didn't really have all of the context for it.
Yeah. I mean,
not that like fucking reading it gave me any context.
I mean,
but,
to be honest, you still don't.
Yeah.
Because there's too much context. There were like 6 series that led into this. There were like 6 or 7 tie-in series, let alone all of like tie-in issues of other main comics that while it was happening. Like it was a massive event, right? You were never, or almost never, unless you were in it from the beginning, going to have all the context.
100%. I knew that it was going to be something intense, especially when you gave it to me 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, because what I gave you to read is the hardcover Final Crisis collection, which not only is Final Crisis 1 to 7, but it also includes Superman Beyond 1 and 2. Might also include like a chapter of like Legion of Three Worlds or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it includes some stuff that was tie-in, but not all the tie-in. Just like the most important stuff. It's mostly Final Crisis and Superman Beyond. Those are like the big two.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, so we're talking about Final Crisis. A great way to title this episode.
Which you have read. You told me that you like stayed up late reading it. I was trying to get through it.
Well, I read it. I started reading it at like 10 a.m. yesterday, and then I just sort of kept reading a bit, walking away from it.
That's fair.
And coming back to it.
That's reasonable.
Because it was too much for one reading, I would say.
Right.
But yeah, I read it all day yesterday, and a little bit of this morning because I was up until 1 a.m.
Right. Now, normally when we do these reading assignments, we go through like almost page by page. There's far too much in Final Crisis to do that. But maybe off the top, why don't you give what you deem to be the beginning to end synopsis of the story?
Oh my God.
No, I don't mean like beat by beat, but I just mean like what is the arc of this story?
It's this, I mean, what's the easy this fucking look, I will tell you right off the bat, did I hate this book? No, I didn't. I know that this whole thing is about how like alienating and like polarizing this book is. I didn't feel polarized by it.
Sure.
It felt like a fucking Morrison book.
I think you've been dosed with enough other Morrison that like now to come to Final Crisis, you're like, yeah, like, I mean, at least I knew it was going to be like this.
Because I going into it, I knew it was going to be bonkers. And I even told you today, like, I'm like, I figured out Morrison.
Sure.
He comes in at like 3 different levels.
Right.
The top level is he writes as if he's writing everything from like he's writing biblical text.
Yes.
And characters don't talk the way that they would actually talk, and everything's a little bit confusing.
Yeah, it's all a little bit heightened and removed a little.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so the first level is just I'm not sure what's happening. I've never read a Morrison book and right from the beginning I'm like, oh, I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, sure.
I'm always just like, what? I'm just going to fucking keep getting through this and maybe I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
The second level is, after you've done reading, you go, oh, okay. He's trying to do this, like, commentary on society, and everything is sort of like this, like, an analogy for something, and I'm like, okay. And then the third level is, he's a fucking sad little emo boy, and he wants everybody to know how much he hurts.
Right. I would say there's a 4th level in there that maybe is a sub-level of one of the ones that you said, which is everything he writes is also about the comic industry.
Well, yeah, that's sort of the emo boy thing, which is he just is
that's
like
the sub-level of that.
He's just like, people don't understand my art, and people don't understand my art.
Did you just make him like Bulgarian?
It's Bulgarian Scottish.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, I was almost drowned in my swamp.
God, I fucking knew it was coming. People don't understand my swamp.
Don't you see, donkey? The Final Crisis is ours.
So I was really frustrated today because I fucking was like, oh, I fucking got this book. I was like, I'm a fucking genius. And then I started putting all the questions together, and fucking Chris Chan was just like, did you guys see this fucking article? And I'm like, oh, let me see. This person literally more eloquently, like, perfectly summarizes the exact sort of theory that I had.
Right.
Which is very frustrating.
I mean, but you still came up with it on your own.
Yeah, sure, but you're not first, you're last. So I'm gonna take bits of what they have said because I think they do such a really good job of it. I think the rough summation of this.
So this was a thing from Reddit that was sent to us.
I think like before I get into it, my rough summation of this thing is basically that like, hey, you remember those monitor guys? Yeah, there's more than just one,
right?
And they're fucking back at it.
Okay.
And people are destroying fucking like universes again, and we got to stop them.
Yeah,
that's the rough summation.
It's funny that's the thing you latched onto because the monitor plot's like the B plot of Final Crisis. The A plot is that the new gods died and are reincarnating in human bodies, and Darkseid's like fall from like the celestial sphere is dragging all of time.
Yeah,
and space
well, that's
down
the other
with
thing.
him.
Is Darkseid's trying to fucking make everybody sad so that he can,
and he's released the anti-life equation. He's finally got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to make everybody sad so that they're sad and he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. Yeah. He wants to basically take over existence.
Yes. He wants to make everybody.
He's removing free will.
He wants everything like Apocalypse, essentially.
Yeah. Essentially.
And so he wants to make everything fucking post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah.
Post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
And he's going to basically just fucking do that to everywhere. And that's the roughest summation.
I mean, in the broadest possible terms, that's what's happening.
Well, because I'm not reading from the thing that I fucking wrote because somebody fucking already did it.
I mean, but essentially that is what it is. There's a couple of things happening there. So while that's happening with Darkseid and that, there's this character Libra who's trying to get the villains sort of to sign on with Darkseid, and if they don't, then he exposes them to the anti-life equation, so they lose their free will.
Yes.
So they're kind of being roped in that way. Libra is taking out some of the big superhero characters, so they're not there to fight this thing. Because time and space is sort of crumpling around this like nexus point in Darkseid on Earth, the events of Final Crisis take both just days or hours, but also weeks and months.
Yes.
Like it's a long time, but no time at all. And it stretches from in
a heartbeat.
It stretches from like the Green Lanterns and Oa and stuff like that to, like the street level heroes like Black Lightning and like Green Arrow and Black Canary.
You know that
the monitor sphere with these monitors, each of which is tasked with a universe in the multiverse.
Black Lightning's like an urban character. I don't know if you knew that. This book really wanted to make sure you fucking knew that.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I'm just like, okay.
How amazing would it be if partway through this, Gambi just showed up and shot Darkseid?
I mean, if Gambi showed up and showed any sort of emotion, I'd be surprised.
It's a Radeon bullet, Jefferson.
So, let me go into this thing because I think it's really well written and very
So this was the thing sent to us by Chris Chan that is on Reddit.
Yes.
That is this person's
thesis on
Final Crisis.
And which makes a fucking ton of sense.
Okay.
So the whole thing is about depression. And for me, the whole thing is about my personal opinion is that the whole thing's about how Grant Morrison's a sad boy and people don't appreciate his art the way that he thinks they should. Yeah, that's my personal thesis.
Yeah, you're right. This person did it better.
Yeah. So this whole thing is about depression, how to overcome it. There's a secondary story running throughout the DC Comics works and Morrison's critique of that, but it also serves as a depression metaphor. So the whole thing starts with a dead god. It just happens to be that's the god of war, and that he wasn't killed with a regular bullet. He was killed with a bullet from the future, as we so learn later, an idolized proto bullet.
It's Orion.
Basically the whole chain of events is set in motion by good being defeated by something that hasn't happened yet. It is an idea of what will happen in the future if a person went around thinking like he'd never get anything done.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good metaphor for it. Yeah, you're right. Orion is killed at the start of this book, and they determined that he was shot by a bullet fired backwards through time. Yeah. So there's, which is a big piece of that.
Yeah, for sure. So eventually the world starts the world starts to begin to be taken over by this one all-consuming idea of worthlessness. Right. Everyone is infected by this idea and eventually becomes sort of Darkseid, who now embodies the idea of mental depression. Every newly infected person is part of this group psyche focused on how shit it is. Right. And the equation really kind of just spells that out. I mean, that's literally what the equation is.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that in the questions, but yeah, I mean, the anti-life equation is very much about despair and stuff like that.
100%. Yeah. So the Superman story, short version of that is that the Monitor woman is putting together a team of the most powerful Superman, yeah. Technically it's Supermans because they're all Superman. There's multiple Superman,
but they're the Supermen of the multiverse.
Yeah, but technically it should be Supermans. If they
only if they all had that title, but they don't.
I guess that's true. Yeah. Superman of the multiverse to help out this universe-destroying army that's been turning up. They managed to halt these evil ships that showed up, that are basically like Earth-destroying ships. Right. But they're really just sort of turning it into Apocalypse, which is sort of just a destroyed world.
Yeah.
Their boss, Mandrak, a crying plant.
You Harry Potter nerd.
All of the Monitors are vampires, but they're cool about it.
Yeah, they are vampiric.
Yes.
They feed on the bleed, the stuff between worlds in the multiverse.
Yes, but Mandrak has become corrupted basically by overeating.
Yes.
So Superman and he fight because Superman goes to this world made up by pure imagination because he gets this 4D vision, which allows him to see their world.
Yeah, because when they're moving between universes. Yeah.
And the bleed is basically I think you can equate the source to either the reader of the book, and the bleed is the imagination of the author.
Right. The bleed space is never explicitly said to be this, but I think it could also stand in as the fifth dimension, where the imps are from. It is sort of imagination, possibility, that kind of stuff.
This person says that it is all the stuff that could go into a story, but does not.
Yeah.
The blood that the vampire monitors drink is the stories of the DC universe itself. Superman wins because he has imagination to create his own ideas. Mandrak has no creativity and can only absorb and be a villain archetype.
Yeah.
So as far as this is the part that I very clearly picked up on, which is the Monitors are comic book editors or executives.
Yeah, I think that's a generally received reading of the Monitor plot of Final Crisis, and that ties into stuff later too with the multiversity and how Morrison sort of puts the Gentry in to be kind of almost like comic readership.
Yeah. So they are vampires because they don't write stories. They basically just live off of other stories and are responsible for stories not running wild and destroying the universe /series as they edit or monitor.
Yeah.
For instance, killing Batman for real and permanent would destroy all worlds because DC Comics wouldn't be able to stay in business in the real world without Bruce. The Monitors /editors also make sure that the continuity doesn't change too much, something they occasionally fuck up because of disagreements and sabotage, as the Monitors bickering explains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're right. I think that's the piece about Final Crisis that's maybe the clearest analogy, is that sort of the Monitors as an allegory for frustrations of the comic industry.
Yeah. So the evil Monitors don't contribute and don't care about the story, but they feed off desperately guarding the status quo of their IPs. Mandrak is basically Morrison calling his boss a soul-sucking, overprotective, artistic, bankrupt asshole.
Yeah. I think I don't know if it's in this.
Which is pretty regular thing for Morrison to do.
But I think it's also, I can't remember if it's in this post or not. It's not necessarily about the immediate editor of a book. It's about the executives that own the IP. That's because an editor on a book is almost part of the creative team, right?
Yeah.
So it's more talking about who owns it, who's selling the rights. It's those people. It's the suits. It's not necessarily your story editor.
Exactly. Yeah. So this person finds it significant that Darkseid is trying to copy Batman, but can't because Batman has a long and evolved personality, while Darkseid wants vapid factory knockoffs. But of course, they won't work.
Yeah. There's a thing because the new gods have to incarnate into human form because they've all died, so they're trying to take on human forms. So they're burning through bodies.
Yeah.
Darkseid chooses the body of a detective named Dan Turpin. But at one point, Superman, I think, asks, like, you could have had anyone. You could have had Batman. And Darkseid basically says, like, no, it was too much.
Yeah.
But, like, Turpin fought me enough that, like, his pain nourished me, but, like, he was going to give in. Batman wasn't.
No, I absolutely.
Yeah.
So Darkseid is depression. He doesn't really have a goal other than enslaving everybody and consuming everything.
Sure.
He's also destroyed New Genesis using the anti-life equation, presumably taking Apocalypse with it.
Yeah.
Telling the new gods that they're nothing special, they are useless, unloved, and irrelevant, which has stripped them of their divinity.
Mm-hmm.
The metaphor being that the most amazing and fantastic of ideas become useless through enough mental abuse.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a relatively strong metaphor. Who knows if that's what Morrison meant, but
I mean, considering the anti-life equation and stuff like it's...
But to read it this way is totally like structurally sound. I think it's a good reading of this. Yeah.
So, I mean, there goes on to more a bit basically talking about sort of like the connection to depression, even that like willpower isn't even enough because like the Green Lanterns aren't able to actually pull the Earth out of a black hole, but they do slow it down a bit. A healthy mind and a healthy comic universe needs many ideas and different things to do. When all is one in Darkseid, that one idea becomes supermassive, creating a black hole.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, but yeah.
As the black hole distorts and fragments in space, the thing that can cure depression is going about saving what is left of the universe. Superman, of course, stands for hope. The Flash keeps running, and they are one step ahead of death. They haven't really been involved with the fight directly. Instead, we see them with their loved ones, and they are the reason. They're the reason the Flashes keep outrunning death. The part of the psyche that still feels connected to love for others.
Yeah.
The reason that Darkseid can't get Batman clones to work is because Batman's experience and memories. Batman has been down and been depressed before, and he survived to remember the tale.
Yeah.
All of those things eventually converge on Darkseid, but everything has already been consumed. Towards the end, all that is left is weak hope and nothingness, not even depression, and just apathy. In the end of the day, there is no meaning of life or the universe. We all die. We will not matter. We might as well might as well not laugh or tell stories at all and just be content doing mindless, meaningless work so that some executives can get rich.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a more negative reading of the ending of the book than is warranted. But
Superman is hope, but
Darkseid as a metaphor for like depression, I think, is pretty solid.
And then basically, like Superman, because he's this representation of hope, the only thing that hope can do is sing and enjoy the sun and accept that while life has no meaning, we can still enjoy living. He has made his miracle machine that is the opposite of the God bullet that started this whole thing. The bullet is inherently destructive force. Superman has been to the future and has got this creative thing that we don't know what it is. But if you stick around and you don't commit suicide, the future will be great.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. This gives the Green Lanterns willpower, the determination to break through, restoring the ability to create meaning, creates more idea and restores old ones. The good editor/monitor returns. Unlike the others, he is a part of the story and engages and is active. He's an executive with a heart and the sort of executive DC needs. One that knows what it is like to create and who respects that stories have to be allowed to develop on their own with oversight but not mandate.
Yeah.
And at the very end, the monitors agree that they should stop fucking around with controlling everything and leave the page blank for the universe to express itself. Good stories can never die, but they are integral to human nature, and the world needs them to survive. That is why, in the end, Batman is, of course, still alive.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to close a couple of loops on this.
Yeah.
There's lots in there in that person's
but it's not
theory.
everything.
But just to close some things that are, this story is too big, too massive to do every beat. We'd be here forever. But
yes,
let's talk about big beat, the God Bullet. So, like we said, Final Crisis, you do see Orion gets killed at the start of the story. He's like one of the last of the New Gods to die, and he's found by Dan Turpin. And he was shot with this bullet that's toxic to gods. It's called Radion, and Batman figures it was fired backwards in time because there's no wound or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they find the bullet wedged in like 50-year-old concrete. So he's like, oh, it's probably fired backwards in time.
Yeah.
That bullet, then you see it next when Wally and Jay are trying to figure some stuff out. And from the Speed Force, Barry, who has been dead and gone for 20 years, comes like running with them. And the three of them have to run together, and they're trying to outrace the Black Racer, which is the new god incarnation of death.
Yeah.
So they're racing the Black Racer, who himself is following this bullet moving backwards in time.
Yeah.
Wally and Barry end up a few weeks in the future. Jay has to get out of there, so he doesn't quite end up in the same period of time as them. Yeah. Eventually, they all have to run together. They start running, get the Black Racer to chase them. They have to outrace death, and all that stuff. They see their families, and that's the thing that motivates them to outrun death. Meanwhile, Batman's been captured. Blah 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 blah. Eventually, he gets out of his holdings, and he loads this gun with the God Bullet.
Yeah.
That he had retrieved as evidence. And he basically shoots Darkseid.
Yeah.
Darkseid Omega beams him, but he has fatally wounded Darkseid.
Yeah.
Darkseid then has a bullet that he's going to fire back in time, because this portal in time opens. He goes to fire it to kick the whole thing off to kill Orion, and out of that portal come the Flashes, followed by the Black Racer, and the Black Racer kills Darkseid.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of time loopy thing with the God Bullet. With the monitors, you start by seeing Nixie Wotan, who's the monitor of Earth 51. They're basically like, oh, your universe got destroyed. That's a bad job that you did.
Yes.
And he's like, it was sabotaged. I swear to God, it was sabotaged.
Yeah.
But they exile him to Earth. He ends up just sort of stuck mortal on Earth. He's trying to remember. He's having these dreams of being a monitor, but he can't remember if it's real or how to be that or whatever. He eventually, in this internment camp as Darkseid is enslaving the Earth, he ends up in this cell with people that the anti-life equation doesn't affect. And he ends up in that cell, and in there is Metron, the new god of knowledge, who unlocks his word of power, basically, and he becomes the super judge. He becomes a monitor again. While that's happening, Superman is fighting Mandrake, like you said, fighting the Dark Monitor, and Nixie Wotan basically comes back to the monitors and says, listen, we are the problem. And the monitors all realize that they say they used to be faceless, and now they all have names and stories. Yeah. So they say they've been infected by the orrery, by the stories of the multiverse. And so his big final line is, the final crisis was ours, and the monitors basically withdraw from the multiverse. They basically cease to exist.
God, Morrison's such a fucking temperamental artist, I swear to God. So there's also the Green Lanterns. We have the Alpha Lanterns that show up.
That's right.
We're basically the cops of the it's like the fucking internal investigation.
Yeah,
unit.
they're like IA. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And they're sent in because they think that, is it Jon Stewart? They think that, or it was Hal Jordan.
Hal is set up to look like he killed Orion and attacked Jon Stewart.
Yes.
But really, what you find out is that this Alpha Lantern, Kraken, is now the incarnate form of Granny Goodness, another fallen new god.
Yeah.
And so that puts the Green Lanterns on alert. They have to hide the central power battery so that Darkseid doesn't get access to like the power of like pure will and stuff like that. Let's talk about some of these other incarnations. There's this Reverend Good who keeps like preaching stuff about Bloodhaven, and that's Glorious Godfrey, the incarnation of Glorious Godfrey, who's the new god of persuasion. You get to see a possessed Mary Marvel, who is she's got Desaad in like possessing her. Who is the torture god of the new gods. You get to see like Calabac is given this like bioengineered tiger body.
It's really fucked up. There's a lot of tiger people in this.
Crazy thing that Final Crisis does is try to take this, like, they talk about this bioengineering facility and they sort of use it to work in like the Great Disaster and like Commandy and like the tiger people. And they also work in like the Atomic Knights with the Dalmatian hounds and stuff like that. Instead of these things all existing on parallel Earths, there's this weird way to try and jam like all of these things into one story. Just pick what were just moments, even just panels that stood out to you.
I liked when they got stuck in limbo
with Superman.
I really liked that whole area. I thought that was really cool.
That's pretty cool stuff.
I really liked the monitors, like their sort of like land.
Nil. Yeah, their world. Yeah,
I thought that was really cool. I think that Mandrak is fucking cool looking.
Great design.
Yeah.
Like that, the dark monitor
feels like a very thing that I haven't really seen before. Like it's a play on sort of vampiric like look, but sort of.
It's got a lot of classic monster visuals, but it's also then this very like high concept, very superhero-y sort of character.
Yeah, I really liked that. I liked the sort of the big sort of battle in the end with Captain Marvel.
The Captain Marvel of Earth 5 and the Superman of the multiverse show up.
That was fucking cool.
Very cool.
That's your sort of on your left moment.
Yeah, kind of, because you see like Overman, Optiman,
because they're all like trying to basically
President Superman
get out of limbo to get back to their time so that they can do it. And it's very interesting with sort of like Overman, who like shouldn't really be part of this whole thing, but sort of is like, I'm trying to get my cousin. And
yeah, Overman is the Nazi Superman. The interesting thing with Overman, too, in later books, too, is that Overman is... I mean, he has allowed evil, which makes him bad.
Yeah.
But he also didn't ever want it to be that evil.
Well, I like that he's just like, wow, this is where I landed. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think he's still...
I was just doing a job.
He wants the Earth to survive, but the version of Earth that what he would want to survive is different from other Supermen, right?
I think his...
But in a crisis, he'll side with you because it's better than not existing.
Yeah, him and his conversation with Billy is really funny.
Yeah.
I like that Billy's just like, hey, I don't like no Nazis, mister. Like...
Well, yeah, especially because so many like classic Captain Marvel villains were like, there's literally a character called Captain Nazi, that he fought. Like,
that part I think is really good.
Yeah, that stuff's pretty cool.
I like that the ship that they fly to get and then that they end up in limbo. That thing reminds me of like the fucking Yellow Submarine or something.
Yeah,
like,
the Ultima Thule.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reminds me of fucking very like groovy 60s like.
It does kind of have that look. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
It really reminded me of that. I think there was like there's a lot of like little cool moments that I really enjoyed. I think like all in all, it was fucking bonkers. Like,
yes, it's wild, and I mean, like we've obviously done a poor job at like taking you through the story, but that's also because
the book does a bad job of it.
Kind of can't.
No, I mean, I'm constantly you flip. You're like I'm constantly in a position where I'm like flipping a page and then flipping it back and like wondering if pages were stuck together. Like,
right.
It jumps sort of all over, which is also an issue with the Morrison thing because he's more concerned about what he's like what the underlying story is more than he is often about the sort of the actual sort of top layer.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, as much as I love Morrison, he can sometimes get so caught in the
analogies
allegory
and
or the analogy
yeah.
is, that he forgets that for that to sink in, you need to get what the top level of the
Yes.
the way an allegory works is you read a story and then you go, oh, but it also means this.
Yes.
But if you can't get that first layer, then the rest of it is like, he's just operating on a different level than most of the readership, which is great because we wouldn't have these cool concepts and stuff without that. But it's also like, there must be a middle step. Sometimes that's how I feel about Scott Snyder.
Yeah.
Is that he's a little bit the middle step. I think he
for
wants
sure.
to aim for the Morrison-y things, but he's a bit more mainstream. He feels like the middle step between like a Bendis and a Morrison.
And then I think but I mean, I would say Moore, I think, is my...
Yeah, I mean, more... that's fair too, actually.
I think so. But for me, it's... Morrison's work is appreciated in analysis.
Yes.
I think, like, you have to just get through it and then go, oh, that was good, I guess. I mean, like, I'm still looking back at fucking, like, books that you've made me read of his and goes, and I've appreciated it in time.
Because other than a couple of big moments, it's not even like there's a ton of, like, battles. It's not like Infinite Crisis. Infinite Crisis is all punch-ems.
Yeah.
This is like Superman is sitting with Lois because she's in the hospital. Or like it's like the Flash wives are talking to Jay and they're reminiscing, or it's like it's all these quiet meetings, or you see like just these people in bunkers, like the surviving Justice Leaguers.
Well, it's people accepting sort of where they're at and just going like, "Wow, everything's
there's
ending."
A
Like
couple of action-y bits, and there's a couple of really big panels, like Death of Martian Manhunter's big panel.
I hated that they called him the Manhunter of Mars the whole time. I'm just like, just call him fucking Martian Manhunter. Jesus Christ. They like just do not call him that.
No, they do. I think it's just like the news things, like where you're watching the news and they're talking
I felt like
about
it so
They
constantly said the Manhunter of Mars, and I'm just like, look, everyone calls him. It's just like, stop.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I could have sworn they called him Martian Manhunter. Maybe I just flipped it in my head.
Maybe it was enough that I just kept being like, fucking, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, that's a big panel. Batman using a gun, shooting Darkseid, and then getting Omega.
Well, I like his
panel.
sort of pitch. His sort of like monologue where he's just like, I don't normally do it like this, but I'll make an exception this once. Like,
yeah.
And I'll fucking kill you. Like,
yeah, I mean, essentially, yeah.
There's a couple moments in this that really stood out for me as like rubbing me the wrong way. What year did this come out?
This would have been 2009.
Too late for some of the things that were said in this.
Are you talking about some of the Mary Marvel, like the possessed Mary Marvel stuff?
Partly.
Because that story-wise, I understand it, but I agree. I don't like it.
Yeah. The part where they just goes like, oh, you're being kind of gay. That part really bothered me.
Right. So that's the Human Flame.
Yes.
And because Libra has been giving these gifts to like low-level villains to win them over.
Yeah.
And then at one point, Human Flame is like, listen, it's not that I don't appreciate what you're doing for me, but it's starting to come off kind of gay. Which again, like story-wise, that character would probably say some shit like that.
But, like, we don't need to have it.
We don't need
Especially
that.
considering everybody else is doing these like Hamlet like monologues constantly.
It's true. It's a little jarring. And the Mary Marvel, even though she's possessed by Desaad, there's a lot of like, she's fighting, but she's like, but we could be fucking. Like... There was another moment too I can't think awkward.
of. But
it's hard to watch.
There's weird language stuff that comes up a few times that I'm just like, you don't need to like choose a side. Like
I think there's even a panel between Green Lanterns where John is like, "Oh, Hal, what took you so long? Was she blonde or brunette?" And
that part.
And even that, I was like, "Is that how John would say hi?"
Yeah, like
when they're investigating a murder of a god.
It feels like, look, if you want to talk all fucking in riddles, just do that. But like, you can't just randomly throw in these like weird asides of like.
I think you're right. It's like, yeah, it's jarring because the rest of the writing doesn't match these couple instances of like very casual, very crude dialogue.
I made a joke about the fucking the way that Black Lightning is handled. I think that towards the end it's a bit better, but it's like. Now we're gonna go into the Black Lightning book, and it's like,
yeah,
boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. I mean, especially because they're putting him and Tattooed Man on opposite sort of paths.
I really liked that relationship, and I liked the turn for Tattooed Man, who's like becomes a hero.
Yeah,
who's just like, oh, I guess you weren't ever a bad guy. Like
he was just Yeah, he's just a victim of circumstance a little bit.
But it's also like Morrison be like, hey, get it? Because like black people in America, like, and I'm like, yeah, fucking just shut up, you Scottish piece of shit. Like, this is not for you to say. Like, get it? Like,
yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't necessarily disagree.
It's moments like that where I'm like, I get, but you're trying to say enough other things. Like, just let Black Lightning, just let him be a cool hero. Let him let him be the person who like helps out people that aren't helped out. Like that's great. Yeah. But
there's I think could be seen as equally like condescending as a white writer. Mm-hmm. But a thing I kind of like, maybe makes me a bad person, is like the C plot of this, which is super young team.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Aquaman.
It's this group of Japanese.
Oh, I love that.
Young heroes that kind of play into like the sort of like anime tropes. Like they're so concerned with whether or not they like each other, and they just want to be famous, and like they don't have like the true like, heart of a hero kind of thing.
All of their actual abilities are more cosmetic than they are anything else.
Yeah, they even like say something like, You just shot this man's brand. What are you going to do to atone to his fans? They like, it's very corporate, kind of like, there's something I really like about Super Young Team.
I part of me is kind of like, I would read a whole book about that.
I think I would too.
Yeah. I really like the sumo guy and like
Sunny Sumo. Very cool. There's what do they call him? Like Atomic Lantern Boy is one of them.
Bat something.
There's Super Bat.
Super Bat, yeah.
And there's a moment where it's like, "What's your ability again?" And he says, "I'm so rich, I can do anything."
It's the fucking Batman line.
It's the Batman line.
I kind of love that.
Kind of amazing. I actually really like Super Young Team, but when you think about it, it's like, oh, this is like a white person writing what he thinks Japanese kids are like.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's. I'd love for a Japanese artist to take that on and see what we could get with that, because I think it's really cool.
And I do like seeing the other, like a lot in this book. You see like a lot of like Spanish speaking heroes crop up.
There's a ton of Spanish in this book that I'm like, I don't know what that says.
Masimanos are in there. There's this other like sort of robot one that whose name I don't remember. You also see like the Chinese superhero team, the Great 10. You see August General in Iron and stuff like that at one point. Like there's some neat moments of what would have been otherwise a pretty mainstream book, but then it's like, okay, well, I've shown you a couple of panels of superheroes doing stuff, let's go back to philosophy, and then it goes to this like this very sort of heady kind of stuff.
Absolutely. So I think that I mean we barely get a touch of Aquaman in there, but
because this is also a different Aquaman. This is Arthur Joseph Curry, I'm pretty sure. This is the second Aquaman.
Yeah. And so they're really not kind of involved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's literally in 2 panels of Final Crisis.
It's interesting. And Wonder Woman is barely involved.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say, though, there's something kind of fun about, like, the new version of the female Furies.
Yeah,
so you're replacing, like, Mad Harriet with Batwoman. You're replacing Lashina with Catwoman and Stompa with Giganta.
Yeah.
And then Wonder Woman, I guess, is being, like, Bernadette sort of idea. There's something kind of fun about that, but you're right. She's mostly not in it.
You really get no.
She's more of just like a vessel for the Mortococcus virus, a thing we have not talked about yet. But it does at one point strip a bunch of heroes of their powers.
Yes.
It also turns a bunch of animals into humanoid animals and turns a bunch of people into wild versions of people.
It sort of is just like, I guess, like that could have been completely removed and would not have affected.
That could have been its own story.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. We should probably get into the questions.
Let's do it. But just before we do, would you recommend this? And what do you rate it out of 5 capes?
Oh man, I don't. I'm gonna take a note from this book.
Sure.
And say, right now I rate it 2 capes.
2. Okay.
But over time, it'll gain capes.
I think that's fair. That's certainly been my experience with it.
I think that's the sort of best way to do it. I think this is a book that's better read in single issues than a trade.
Yeah, that's fair too.
I would say.
I mean, this trade, again, is also, it jumps to a tie-in and then back again.
Which is very jarring.
Yeah.
I think that...
Because I reread it not in the order you read it.
It's got to be way worse.
I actually think the one that you read is probably the more logical.
Wow.
But I honestly don't know.
Out of context, I feel like some of these stories are just fun and and can work. and some of them maybe just make things worse. The whole Bloodhaven thing is really confusing, and
I mean, the Bloodhaven thing is like a holdover from old events too. Yeah, I mean, there is missing context. Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, I if someone was like a Morrison fan, I would be like, "Fuck it, let's talk about this. Read it, and so we can complain about it."
Sure.
Would I ever give it to someone who's just like a casual fan? No,
that's not that kind of book.
No.
Yeah.
No. If someone was even like, I think I like Morrison, this would be the last book I'd give them.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is a book I go, hey Kyle, I've read this book.
Yeah, I mean, you should do that. You should
I did. Yeah. And he went, nice, let's talk about it. But yeah, it's bonkers.
Nice.
Let's get into some questions.
Let's do it.
Going over to Facebook.
Going to the face and the book. Going to the Facebook.
I mean, this first question, I think we've already answered. We can just, maybe we just skip over it. But Matthew Poulter basically just said, literally the only question I can think of is, what the fuck even happened?
All right, well, let's start at the beginning.
Yeah. Back in caveman times, there was a god.
Yeah, I mean, we did mostly touch on this. I think the thing that I've always found the most confusing about Final Crisis, though, which sort of ties to this question, is the connection between the Dark Side New Gods story and the Monitor story.
Yeah.
And really, I think the connection comes from Countdown to Final Crisis, which is a lead into this, where you actually see Darkseid interacting with one or two of the monitors and basically plotting that, like, when the monitors fuck something up, he will use that opportunity to assume control of a all new creation.
Yeah.
But really, if you just dropped into that Final Crisis hardcover I gave you, they almost feel like separate things just happening at the same time. Like, you don't see scenes of Darkseid being like, okay, Mandrak, attack here, or vice versa, or anything like that.
This thing very much jumps like 10 steps forward in a lot of situations where you're like, I think this person's going to do this. This is them finishing doing that.
That's the most insane thing with Final Crisis, is that not everything is technically connected.
Yes.
It's just a bunch of shit happens at once.
Yes.
Exactly.
All right, let's go to the next question.
Let's do it.
For the most interesting resident.
Oh, it's Andrew Delgado?
No.
Roland Sebas?
Obviously. Roland Sebas.
Oh, Roland.
Who asks, does Darkseid remember this crisis at all? And is the Miracle Machine ever going to make a comeback?
Right. So, Darkseid remembering this... I don't know if I can think of an instance since Final Crisis where Darkseid himself has specifically remembered it. Final Crisis, though, is remembered by, like, celestial beings. You know, like, it's referenced by people that can have memories of past continuities.
Yes.
Flashes, if they tap into the Speed Force the right way. Or the Monitor, or the Anti-Monitor, the World Forger, Perpetua, Dr. Manhattan. Like, there are characters aware of crises.
Okay.
I don't know necessarily that there's been an explicit Darkseid reference to Final Crisis, but even characters in Batman have been like, remember when Batman died? And you go like, oh, what? So like, do we remember Final Crisis?
What?
I think you could probably make the assumption as a god that basically, like, even when he's killed, he comes back because he's a different form of being than we are.
Yeah, just destroying his physical form doesn't necessarily.
I think he must have some inclination of it, even if it's in the form of like vision he gets from the source, or the fact that like Metron would know, because Metron knows all of the shit. He probably tells Darkseid at some point.
Yeah,
I would imagine Darkseid knows, but he just doesn't talk about it.
He's got PTSD.
He doesn't like to bring it up.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next question.
Oh, the Miracle Machine.
Oh,
sorry.
Yes.
So the Miracle Machine, at one point in this story, Brainiac 5 brings Superman to the future.
Shows them the
Miracle Machine, which is this machine that is built. It's powered by Element X.
It's basically what they use on Oa. It's
like a refined version. It basically,
they figured out how they're doing what they're doing.
It turns thought into reality.
Yeah.
But basically their future is being erased. Superman is brought there to basically X-ray vision, look at it, memorize how to make it, and then go back to the present time and sort of divvy up the work.
Does he have super memory? Is that a thing then?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably has like a eidetic memory or something like that. But there are some panels of like even like Luthor and Dr. Savannah are working on it, and they say like it's a shame we only get to work on pieces of this.
Yes.
I think this is bigger than we think it is.
Yes.
But Superman is being very careful because this is like the most dangerous possible machine ever.
Yeah, and you're using the most evil like geniuses to help make it.
Exactly. This is the machine that Superman uses to basically wish for a happy ending and save the day.
Yes.
It does show up again. It shows up in Morrison's Green Lantern series. It's used by the controllers to create or used by Hal and the controllers to create no, not the controllers, the Black Stars, to create like an alternate universe where the Black Stars are law enforcement and not the Green Lanterns.
Oh, okay.
That's what that Green Lantern Black Stars 3-issue miniseries is like an alternate version of the world, which is actually turns out to be Earth 15, but it was all because of the Miracle Machine.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next question.
You've had it. You're so done.
It's Morrison's work is exhausting.
It can be.
Yeah.
It's definitely not casual.
No, you don't just like pick up a Morrison book.
If you want to like have the brain exercise, they're a lot of fun. But like if you were just looking for like, I want to see Superman punch Darkseid, you're gonna fucking hate Final Crisis because that literally never happens.
No. Next question comes from We've Only Just Dandon, who asks, what time period was your favorite in Return of Bruce Wayne?
So not strictly Final Crisis, but leads out of it.
Okay.
Because Bruce Wayne is basically flung into the past to caveman days.
Yes. We've talked about this in the recent previous episode.
Yeah, and that Return of Bruce Wayne thing is funny because it's like caveman days, and then it's like
boom.
And then it's like 1800s for like 3 different 1800s periods.
Yes.
It's like the 20s and then modern day. It's like it's not like spread out.
No, it's like somebody was just like, I really want to write this kind of Batman book, so throw him in the past and we'll just pretend like he jumped in time.
Yeah, but it's like it's not even like taking full advantage of time jumps. Like we don't get like Roman era, we don't get samurai, we don't get like
it would have been so cool.
We don't get like a plague Batman.
No.
We don't get like
God, that sounds awesome.
Any of those kind of things that would be sort of fun. Things that we've actually have been getting in that Hawkman series recently. But yeah, I mean, favorite era. I mean, it's technically the caveman one because it's the only one that's like not within our ability to like imagine. Like, I mean, we've seen it. Like, I can imagine the 1800s. We've set like a million movies and books in the 1800s. So my favorite one is the caveman one because that's like so rife for invention and opportunity and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's leave Facebook and head on over to Twitter.
Twitter.
You know what? I may be young at heart, but I love me some liver and onions. That's right, it's organ night.
I actually do really like liver and onions.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Liver and onions. Who asks, is it true that this being the final crisis prevented Dark Knight's metal from being the Dark Crisis?
Right. Yeah, I think there was some interview where they said that they had wanted to call Dark Knight's metal Dark Crisis. And technically, none of the Crisis events since Final Crisis have been called Crisis. Although the subtitle of Death Metal is that it's an anti-crisis.
Oh, fucking Jesus Christ.
But, I mean, maybe internally that's a quote-unquote rule that is like, listen, we put out a thing called Final Crisis. We just can't use that word. But like even in other things, even like in Doomsday Clock, or things that talk about Flashpoint or whatever, they talk about crisis events. So like it might not be on the title of the book, but in the stories of the books, all of these things are referred to as crises. Like they're not crises. I don't actually know. I don't know how strenuous like DC editorial is about like we put out a book called Final Crisis. You can't call it Crisis.
Yeah,
but like because they don't seem to care if you say it in the story. I don't know. I think I might have preferred if Dark Knight's metal was called Dark Crisis.
Yes,
and then you call this one Anti-Crisis. Like,
yeah, it's fine.
I don't know. I kind of like that Crisis is such like a brand kind of thing
Yeah.
for DC, right? Like that's how you know that shit's going down. It's a crisis, you know? I mean, Flashpoint, I don't think Flashpoint is a good name for that. You don't need to give that a crisis name, but like, I don't know, Metal might have been fun to call Dark Crisis because you're introducing the dark multiverse and stuff like that. Like, I think it works. It would have been fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. How many... I want to see if you can think of like one or two, like what are words we haven't used that we can pair with crisis for future events.
Future Crisis?
Future Crisis, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all like Legion era. That'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's one that was pitched in Doomsday Clock that is like sort of set up to be like a Marvel DC crossover where they call it Secret Crisis.
Ooh.
So it'd be like Secret Wars and Crisis put together.
Personal Crisis.
Well, we've had Identity Crisis and Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah, that's true. Jesus Crisis.
Crisis Communications.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's just Justice League PR trying to talk about like, listen, history has changed. Like we got to deal with it.
Crisis of Conscience.
That was an arc after Infinite Crisis.
Really? Oh,
that was an arc in Justice League. It wasn't a book by itself, but there was a thing about the ramifications of Zatanna doing the mind wipe stuff. Was called Crisis of Conscience.
Wow. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Is there a word that means more final, like ultimate crisis?
Yeah. Seriously,
you do penultimate crisis and then ultimate crisis.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get. Yeah.
Terminal crisis.
Oh no.
Oh no. Yeah. I as soon as I said it, I don't like that one either.
No, that's not. That's not good. Yeah, I'm kind of done with Crises.
What do you mean you're done with it? You don't read them anyway.
I read the final one. That's all I needed to do.
Yeah.
I've read the other one. I read the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, that's true. You did read that one.
Yeah, fuck you. I know comics.
Nice.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna run all comics.
Yeah, you're the man. Wait, you're kicking me out. You're changing all the passwords for the podcast.
I'm the doctor.
No.
Next question comes from JJ Martian.
Does he want pictures of Martian Manhunter on his desk right now?
Well, they don't mean old John Jones Martian, do they? I haven't heard that name in many years.
John, can I talk to you for a second? It's me. It's Clark. I got my glasses on.
Oh yeah, hey.
I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about your secret identity.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm surprised you even knew that I had one.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I love that you took the name John Jones. I think it's very clever.
Yeah.
Like John Jones.
John Jones.
That's very,
yeah.
very smart. Is there a reason that you kept Martian in at the end there? Why are you John Jones Martian?
Well, I just figured, like it was kind of like a coy play on like where I came from.
I don't think it's as coy as you think. I feel like you're calling too much attention to it.
No. I mean, because
you also on your business cards say how afraid of fire you are.
But I'm just concerned that my John Jones thing is too hard to get. So I wanted to make it a little bit
So you want
easy.
people to get it?
Yeah.
So you're bad at secrets.
I need to make some phone calls. JJ Martian asks, can you explain how we have multiple monitors rather than the one from Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Did you kind of talk about that in Final Crisis? So, Crisis on Infinite Earths, there is only one monitor.
Yeah.
He's the monitor, and then there's the anti-monitor from the antimatter universe. That's it. But after Infinite Crisis, when the multiverse was remade, there were 52 Earths. Basically, what they describe in Final Crisis is that the original monitor was still sort of like licking his wounds from the first Crisis, and basically like didn't birth in the way we conceive of, but sort of split himself into these new beings. So they're not 52 hymns; they're 52 new beings made of him.
Yes,
kind of thing.
And I think that initially they were supposed to just be versions of him until they started creating their own identities, and that became an issue.
Yeah, they take on their own names. There's references to like that the general moral compass of their worlds might be what affects them. So Solomon, who is one of the monitors that goes bad first, was the monitor of Earth 8, which is the world called Angor, which is like the Marvel pastiche one. It's where you have the retaliators and stuff like that. It's such an angry, angsty world that it affected him,
Yeah.
right? And that's sort of the implication there. But essentially, yeah, the monitors are of him. Now, where we are now in comics, the over monitor, the original monitor, is the only one. Like, he's back. So there's the monitor, the anti-monitor, and the World Forger are the three brothers.
Yeah.
But for a brief period of time, that one monitor, Mar-Novu, became all the monitors. I will say the one exception to that is that Nix-Uotan is still out there. So we have Mar-Novu, the over monitor, and Nix-Uotan, the super judge, both still exist. Otherwise, there are not separate monitors for separate worlds.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next question from our favorite spacey, sexy texter.
Ooh, Cosmic DM.
Ooh, taking a rocket shit.
Taking a rock shit. Are you talking about how all of these Patreon episodes we've been doing this month are affecting us?
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god.
I wish I took a rock shit. What's the opposite of a rock shit?
Mudslide?
You know when you like jam your finger partway into a hose and it kind of goes all over the place? It's sort of like that.
I on Saturday I had this big event for a business that I'm a partner of, and we had this big sort of like barbecue, and it was just the most amount of meat you've ever seen. And I like, and it was fine Sunday, and then today I was in like every Monday morning we have like my company has like a big huddle. We talk about the week and what work we have coming up, and my stomach was just like destroyed. I was just like, I'm like halfway through it, and I'm like, I'm gonna die. And I started like sweating, and then I was like, okay, I think we're almost done. And my business partner was just like, oh, and another thing, and I'm just like, ah.
I mean, you're also the boss, though. You could say like, let's take 5 and come back to it, right?
I know, but I also didn't want it to be so obvious that it was
like, let's take 5, and then they're all silent. You're just like, oh, oh no.
Have you ever shit so much that it fills up the bottom of the toilet and then comes out of the water? And mounds outside of the water?
What do you mean, have I ever? You're describing every shit I've ever taken.
I still remember when John Gabers was up here and he was just like talking about that he only has diarrhea.
It's so true.
It's kind of make a tight little asshole, though. If all you have is diarrhea.
I don't know that that's true.
Because it's not like it comes out like as a huge amount. Like, it's not a fucking fire hose, right? So
yeah, it's
you're not producing like a...
You remember those super soakers where you can just empty like the 2-liter thing in like 1 second? That's how it is for me.
Who was it that was...
It's like a sluice in a dam.
Who is it? What podcast? I'm sure you listened to it too, where they were talking about they putting hot water in the super soaker.
No.
Somebody put like
boiling water?
Well, like you know those like faucets sometimes that would just have just hot water coming out of them. Yeah, one of those, and they just filled it up with hot water. And they were it was the Meltdown show. Oh, and he was talking about like he was like shooting someone in the face with it, and they're just that whole thing where they're like, you're like, oh, don't get me, but then they really want to be getting, and then they have like this big smile on their face, and then they get hit, and they just see this like shocked look over their face where they're just like, no, this isn't supposed to happen.
Not like this.
Yeah. Very funny. So Cosmic DM asks, are monitors immune to the anti-life equation?
Well, we talked about how Nix-Uotan exiled Monitor, so he's actually mortal at this point.
They kicked him out, and he lost all of his powers, and he doesn't even remember being a Monitor.
But he still is immune to the anti-life equation. That's why he ends up in that cell with like who they call like the freaks or the damaged or whatever. That's where he meets Metron and stuff like that. So there's sort of an implication that the anti-life equation doesn't work on him. Later continuity things that were not true at the time show that the anti-life equation can affect a monitor, but maybe not consume them.
Yeah.
So the anti-monitor now canonically, his name was Mobius, and then he found the anti-life equation and it turned him into this destroyer. Yeah. It made him the anti-monitor. It didn't remove his free will. It kind of did, because now he's forced to destroy, but he's not a slave to anyone else.
Yeah.
But the anti-monitor he was definitely affected by it, maybe not in the way that we've seen the anti-life equation used. So I think I think the easy answer is that they won't fall subject to it. They won't become slaves, but it might do something to them, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we've definitely seen monitors affected by other things. You know, Mandrak overconsumes the bleed and becomes this sort of vampire creature. It's definitely like evil creature.
Yeah.
In the Multiversity, Nixuotan briefly gets gentrified by the gentry, and he becomes this sort of like evil dark monitor for a bit. Like, monitors can be affected by things.
Yeah.
But I don't know that they fall prey to them. Like, they don't become a complete slave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next question comes from Mosaic Comics, who asks, what was the quantum vampire trying to drink the bleed between universes?
Yes. I mean, the quantum vampire thing is Mandrak.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially. And again, that bleed is meant to be like ideas, imagination.
Yeah.
I think you could sub in the bleed for the fifth dimension.
Yeah, they're just ideas and things that haven't yet become part of a story.
Yeah, exactly. And this is also before we had the sort of advent of a dark multiverse and things of like nightmare stories and fears and stuff like that. This is more just like possibility, right? Yeah. That's what the bleed is. But yes, that's what the monitors in general feed on, but especially that vampiric sort of Mandrak dark monitor.
Mm-hmm. I'm lucky that I went to bed at 1 a.m. yesterday, because if I would have stayed up a little bit longer, I may have been woken by the scream of a donkey. That's right. Next question comes from Braydon.
I hate you so much. Oh, fuck.
Who asks, how exactly did Superman whistle Darkseid to death?
Yeah, I mean, that's not precisely it.
No.
So someone else, and this question didn't make it in because I knew we would talk about it here.
Yeah.
Put up a panel of Superman yelling into the miracle machine.
Yeah.
And it said, I thought it whistled or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're right. We say whistle all the time. And he does yell into the miracle machine. But then he does that before he finds Element X, which is the thing that could power the machine.
Yes.
Element X is like pure possibility. It's now retconned as the 10th metal. It's the metal of creation, right? So when he puts that in, he talks about like he has to like heal his voice up. He's going to try and match a harmonic resonance thing, because that's what the universe is. They are all different vibrations, right? The universe is music. Yeah. That's how that Ultima Thule ship moves, is by like music, basically. Yeah. Superman doesn't specifically target Darkseid with that, but he has to find a vibration or a counter vibration to what is happening to reality to set it right.
Yeah.
So he undoes Darkseid's plan via this musical note, essentially. Yeah. He's not specifically like whistling at Darkseid and something
to kill
happening.
Him. Yeah.
Like it's a little bit more like metafictional than that.
It happens because.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I don't think we actually get a panel where he's like...
That was the thing that surprised me, because I just have it in my head, but you don't see him...
Just like a stupid whistle thing.
You don't see him go back to it. You only see him yell at it.
Yeah.
You don't even hear someone say the word whistle.
No.
That's just, I think, how I imagined it.
I don't know, yeah. It's a very weird thing.
I imagined that like whatever the hopeful sound must be pleasant, so he's like... or like whatever he's doing. It's not just him being like, test, check, 1, 2...
Sibilance. Mark. Yeah.
When I was a young boy.
God. But I really wish we would have gotten a panel with him being like a little like puckery face where he's whistling.
Yeah, it is funny. I mean, it definitely is pointed out that that's a false memory.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh my God, were you in it?
Oh my God. The final crisis was mine.
Remember the word.
Ouija Dell?
Shazam! Damn. Oh, I was hoping.
Slight sidetrack. How did you like seeing Freddie Freeman as Shazam in that?
Cool. I like the hair.
Yeah. He's got a kind of like weird long flow going on. Yeah.
It was cool. Yeah. I like getting both of them. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of neat.
It was cool. I mean, I'm slowly realizing I like Shazam as like a comic character, not just like in real life.
Right. I'll have to get you some Shazam to read.
Yeah. Captain Marvel. It's interesting that it's Captain Marvel. It's like 2009. Like it's...
Yeah, I mean, the official name change didn't happen until the New 52.
That's crazy.
But the books were always called Shazam because of that legal shit.
Yeah.
But he was still technically Captain Marvel.
Interesting. Yeah. Next question comes from our favorite religious representative.
Chris Chan.
That's right. The one and only. It's not that Catholic.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very uncomfortable name. We're a proud family of licks.
Catholic.
We're Irish. We're the old licks.
Yeah. Meet my son, Ass.
Yeah. Asshole. Oh, his cousin is Tasso Salad.
Oh, and the wee baby scrambled eggs. I never know what to do with those two.
The family is Tasso Salad and Eggs Salad.
Yeah. Don't know what to do with those two.
Wow. What does Chris Chan ask?
I think the best explanation I've read about Final Crisis it's about depression. What do you think? I agree.
Well, I mean, that broke your heart.
I fucking broke my goddamn heart, Chris.
You were so excited. You were like, I am writing a thesis. I figured out Final Crisis.
I wrote a thing as long as the thing that they wrote, but was like way dumber. So
I love the idea of being on the same track and being less eloquent.
Thank God.
Sometimes you're sad, and when you're sad, you feel like, okay, so no, the sadness is like how.
Sorry, is Tom doing this? And so Christian Bale.
Have you guys read Final Crisis?
There's a character in it called the Dark Knight. Christian Bale was the Dark
He's
Knight.
The dark side.
Wasn't
that Sandra Bullock movie?
Oh, Dark Side. Oh no, that's because
oh no.
Oh, that seems like a bad name for that movie.
I 100% fucked that one up.
Yep.
Did not mean for that to happen.
Yeah.
Well, my little fun comic joke really backfired there. Jesus Christ.
Next question comes from...
Maybe this is the last episode.
Final episode. The next question comes from Jesse Stewart.
No,
Jesse Stewart.
Sorry, it's not even Forrest, but you're going to use the Finding Forrester thing.
Well, now that they said that now it makes it sound like I sound like Patrick Stewart when I do it. Now I just want to...
Oh, sorry, I thought you were doing Connery.
Well, no, I did. When I did Connery the last time, she said she thought I was doing Patrick Stewart.
Oh,
and I was
right.
like, I guess they're pretty similar.
I love that you're calling back to an episode that hasn't come out yet. That won't come out until next week.
If not a Morrison episode, when else?
Your callback was fired backwards through time.
I actually said that in that past episode that's coming out in the future so that I could get to this point.
The loop is closed.
Yes. Lock the door if you're coming. Jesse Stewart asked, is Final Crisis Grant Morrison at his best or at his worst? I think it's at his Morrisonist.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's always him.
No, but I feel like
if you take like the things that we sort of ascribed as the qualities of Morrison writing or the stuff he brings to a book, you've read a few Morrison things now.
Yeah.
Do you consider this to be a good example of those things or a poor example of those things? Is he executing it well or not in this?
I think
story?
he is doing it. I
right down the middle. Fucking riding that fence.
That's because I think like old Morrison is like Morrison tamed.
Right.
And he's not so fucking as much. Like if you get his old stuff, it's not as fucking esoteric.
Let's put it up against the thing that I'm thinking of that I know you have opinions about. Pax Americana.
Yeah.
Final Crisis, Pax Americana. Which one do you think is a better executed Morrison?
Pax Americana?
I would think so.
Yeah.
It's a little clearer. It's less messy.
Yeah, and the problem is Pax Americana is a lot smaller than this.
Well, that's true too.
You imagine if there was fucking 7 of Pax Americana that you shoved together.
However, that is what the multiversity is all one shots, and it is a bunch of different things happening simultaneously. But it's easier to follow than all the things happening in this.
Yeah.
So I would say that you're right.
It's down the middle. I don't know.
Right.
I I don't think I've read I don't think I've read anything that I could like say is bad because it's so him,
Right.
that it's like, well, either you like it or you don't like it. But I think there's versions that are less Morrison-esque that you could potentially say are not as good because they're less of like, if that's what you're looking for. But I don't think he's ever been like, I've never read anything that's like poorly written.
I will say, sort of on the same note as the Pax Americana comment, I don't have a problem with the high concept stuff or whatever he's attempting in there. I think my ultimate issue with Final Crisis is that it just needs one or two little connecting threads.
Yes. 100%.
And the multiversity has that. Even in all those separate stories, you get this overarching thing of the Gentry and what are they doing in these worlds and what is the Gentry's influence and what is this haunted comic. It doesn't have to be much. It's a very, very thin thing that ties all those otherwise separate stories together. And I think that's what's missing from Final Crisis is it just doesn't have enough connecting the tendrils.
You know who I would love to see take on a Morrison property for like TV is I want to see Damon Lindelof because I just feel like he's really good at sort of like taking all of that stuff and making it cohesive.
Final Crisis TV show?
I mean, fucking sure.
I'm joking. I don't want that.
No, I mean, you can't make Pax Americana. He already did that.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
But I would be curious to see a Damon Lindelof sort of Morrison take.
Animal Man or something.
Ooh, I mean, that's a thing people wanted for a long time.
Be kind of fun,
Yeah. I'd be interested.
That's fair.
All right.
I'm just looking at it over there like it's going to open by itself. Like I'm just waiting for like the book to do something.
What did you say? That's it. I'm bringing you to my swamp.
Shrek Morrison reaches out from the pages of Final Crisis and drags us down into the abyss.
This is even just too scary for me. I've been watching too much of I'll Be Gone in the Dark, and so everything is just terrifying to me right now.
Yeah. So I shouldn't tell you that doorknob is moving?
That's not funny. It's going to be a blade in my neck.
There's a call coming from inside the house.
Oh my God. You're going to die.
Ugh. I told you, I read that book and I was like checking the locks.
I think
that too much for me.
I think that the documentary is probably less scary.
Probably.
Because I think the book's more sort of like steeps itself in those moments. My guess is it's probably steeps himself in those murders and moments. Well, even though the whole thing is about
because
sort of
also
discovering.
The book was in a world where they had not solved it.
Yeah. And the documentary is more about like the personal life of this person who wrote it and like
the journey.
Yeah, and like also you're cutting into like clips of like news people talking about these events and things like that when obviously the book can't do that. So
the book's a little bit like that, but I think you're right. I think this is more about like celebrating Michelle McNamara and her involvement in it.
Well, yeah, and just sort of like and taking all of these like interviews that she did talking about it and things like that when it's like the book is like her voice walking you through these murders and her process, and I think that is just so much more solitary when these feels like it's a group of people.
That's true. Yeah, that's fair.
And I think that's what's scary. I mean, I haven't read it and I will do it, but we'll see. Anyways, next question comes from Musanek, who asks, what's the deal with the overmonitor?
Yeah, so we kind of talked about it, but the overmonitor is the original monitor. That's Marnovu, the one from the original Crisis, the one who is now in...
Where's the undermonitor?
The undermonitor is the job you don't want on that film set.
Someone's got to take that shot, but...
Yeah, that's a step below Fluffer, I think.
Yeah. You got to bring a splash guard.
Oh, no. Oh, God. But yeah, that's what the over monitor is. So now that there is only one monitor, it is the over monitor. It's Marnovu. Sometimes they'll call him that though, just to make sure you know it's not like a Nixuotan or something like that.
Absolutely. All right, let's leave Twitter and head on over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
First question comes from the real Josh Gill.
Gill.
Oh, so real.
Oh, sexy Gill.
So existing.
I mean, I don't know. We just read a Morrison book. I don't know that we can say that definitively.
Real Josh Gill's in your area.
It's as real as we can allow.
Yeah. I mean, I'll allow a lot.
I know.
I'm wide open.
You have to stop just writing everything is forgiven as a comment on every thing that he posts.
In a heartbeat. Josh asks, what character that appears in the story was most underutilized? Who should have appeared, but was either left out or only appeared in a tie-in? Underutilized, Aquaman.
Well, yes, definitely Aquaman. Yeah, I mean, you can't argue that at all. I do like actually how much they used Tattooed Man.
Yeah.
I think that was cool. He's got a cool arc from sort of like crook to reluctant, like freedom fighter to full on hero, honorary Justice Leaguer.
Yeah.
I think Tattooed Man has a cool, because also part of how they win the day is that Tattooed Man gets this like sigil that basically it's like a symbol he puts on his own body that basically purges the anti-life equation. That's part of how they win. They do find a way to work him in in a way that's meaningful.
I mean, the reverse of that is I feel like they were setting up the Supermen to be more meaningful than they ended up being, and it felt they all felt underutilized to me.
That's the tie-in thing.
Yeah,
like the Supermen of the multiverse is in other things
because I'm like
more than they show up in the actual issues of Final Crisis.
Because for me, I'm just like, I'm curious about like Underman and Overman and like
Underman.
Yeah.
Well, on that world, Aquaman is called Underwater Man.
Really?
Yeah, he's Mufasa Man.
Oh well, there you go.
Okay.
Who should have appeared but was either left out?
Do you know what was funny? I seem to recall that Renee, as the Question, was only in Final Crisis Revelations. The tie-in
they talk
thing
about him, but
the tie-in of Final Crisis Revelations is where the crime Bible, all the people that believe in that, they resurrect Cain in the body of Vandal Savage, and then he takes control of the Spectre, and it's all this kind of shit.
Yeah.
And Renee is at the center of that story. But Renee is also at the center of the Superman of the Multiverse thing, and the stuff with Checkmate and the Global Peace Agency, and like multiverse hopping. Renee is weirdly central to Final Crisis in a way that I love, but like I kind of forgot.
They only really mention him at the beginning of the actual like book itself.
Mention
Renee Montoya.
No, she's like she's the one that shows up.
Like it was just the beginning.
No, because she shows up like on the ship. She's the one like they like Waller brings her in and Checkmate and like
that's true.
I will say that Final Crisis Revelations is a good tie-in, and I think you would actually really like it because it's all about the way that it ties together is that the anti-life equation is part of this like cult of crime. They basically say like God gave you free will. Ergo, like choice is life.
Yeah.
So anti-life is no choice.
Yeah.
And that's just like it's such an easy setup, but because it's all set up as this like religious thing, it feels more like supernatural.
Ooh.
It's this like it's about Cain and the mark of Cain and the spear of destiny and the spirit of God's vengeance and the spirit of God's mercy and these people caught in between. And like it's very much like a supernatural thing. I think you would like it because it's some of the same themes about free will in that, but like it's got this more magical, religious kind of overtone to it. It's kind of neat.
I wonder if they ever, if they're ever going to make a whale, a Green Lantern,
a whale Green Lantern
called Free Willy.
I mean, it's funny that you say that because Ion, like the Green Lantern version of Parallax, like the green entity, the whale entity, is basically a giant space whale.
Well, there you go. Boom, problem solved.
Nailed it.
All right, next question comes from, hey, Robbie's just this guy. You know,
I'm fucking tired of arguing.
Yeah.
If you just want to be this guy, then like, whatever, just do it.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm tired of trying to lift you up.
My shoulders hurt from carrying you this whole time. Well, there's only one footprint in the sand.
Please don't murder me.
Robbie wasn't in the Golden State between the 70s and the 90s.
No. Not like this.
Robbie's just this guy asks, was it well received when it came out? I reread it this summer, and it was by far my least favorite Crises. Also,
this is the least favorite, more than Convergence.
Also, has a vampire Superman ever fought a werewolf Superman?
The fun question first. I have no idea, but I would be in.
Yeah.
But here's the question: are you team Super Edward or team Super Jacob?
I want that southern one.
Oh, like True Blood? You were going to go to
No. The southern one.
Team Super Bill. Sucky Lane.
Edward's like roommate or whatever, the southern guy.
Right, yeah.
Who like can't control his. I mean,
none of them can control it. Isn't that Edward's whole thing too? He's like, we can't have sex. I can't control it.
It's okay. It happens to most guys.
Man, it goes off like a fucking fire hose.
I can't control it.
I don't think there's been a super werewolf versus super vampire fight, underworld style. There's no.
I mean, maybe in a Dark Crisis you'll get that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to get it anywhere, it's a dark multiverse thing, definitely,
yeah.
for sure. What was the first part of this?
Well, how was it received? Well,
I think it was probably received the way you think it was. I didn't go to look at like articles or stuff from the time, but I imagine that like.
But it's like an onion.
I peel back the layers, donkey.
I'm surprised the next book he
Hop
wrote.
aboard my multiversal shift ship. We're going to use the music of my farts to travel through creation. It's me, Grant Morrison.
I'm really surprised that Morrison hasn't written a book just like saying the fans suck.
I think he also knows, though, too, that like he's not writing
for every
punch 'em stories. I think he knows that his stuff is going to be a little bit alienating, and
yeah.
But I also think he has been vindicated time and again. Where like at the time people would be like, "This is confusing and I don't like it," and then years later they go like, "That's actually pretty good." But
I think he's probably had that enough times that he's just like, "Oh, you don't understand."
That's just it. Like if someone says they don't like the thing, he'd be like, "Try reading it another 11 times,"
yeah.
and be like, "Oh, all right."
Yeah, that's how I want to enjoy things.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that some people read it and then like let it digest a bit, and they were like, "This is like really smart stuff, cool." And other people were like, "But why isn't that punching? Who's Dan Turpin?" And they were like,
"See, the key with Morrison is that it's not forced on you as a child, and you find it as an adult, and that's how you enjoy it."
Oh no,
it's a lot like sex.
Oh God, what a dark joke! Jesus Christ. That is fucking grim. What the fuck? I was so like,
Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's like religion. Then you just Jesus God. I can't contribute.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
You want me to tell you that you're wrong? That sex with kids is bad?
Wow, that's what you said, not me.
I know.
Jeez. What's wrong with you?
So maybe break out my roast joke.
Oh yeah.
The only difference between you and Jeffrey Epstein is that Epstein was well hung.
It's a great joke.
Written literally for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure you were the only one that laughed at it.
The only difference between you and Jeffrey Epstein is that he had a plane and you just are.
Oh. I'm a boring sex trafficker? Oh no.
Yeah, work it out.
Yeah, God, that's a deep insult. Be like,
hey, no, I'm an interest. Oh wait,
I'm a charismatic sex trafficker. God damn it.
That's the.
What a what a dark little hole we've crawled into here. My God. So grim. This is what happens as we approach episode 200. It's just the insanity.
That's, I mean, after this many fucking times. Also, this many Morrison books.
Yeah, there have been a lot of Morrison books.
All right, let's go to the next question.
Okay.
Which comes from ABC.
Brooks.
It's easy as 1, 2, 3.
Brooks.
Easy as Do, Re, Mi.
Brooks.
ABC.
Brooks.
1, 2, 3.
Brooks.
Maybe you and me,
I
Brooks.
couldn't remember if I did a Brooks there or not. Brooks. 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 Brooks.
Brooks.
I'll be Brooks.
Wow, right after we do the fucking Epstein thing, let's talk about Michael Jackson.
Oh no. Oh no.
ABC Brooks asks, Morrison!
Oh, it's been a while.
It's been a really long time. It was getting exhausting. All right, so were the people that I had to say it with. Are any of the tie-in series for the Final Crisis recommended reading? Are the Final Crisis Aftermath series worth our time? And do any of the series make Final Crisis easier to understand?
Well, I think we both recommended one each, sort of inadvertently because it was included in the book. But Superman Beyond, where they go to limbo,
for sure,
where Captain Atom from Earth 4 fuses Superman and Ultraman into this big robot
that's like falling
Superman
apart
that like fights Mandrake.
Yeah,
that's a pretty cool interlude in the story.
It's cool to watch him fall apart and stuff too.
And I would argue that one does help the story because it gives you more actual FaceTime with the Monitor stuff.
For sure.
Because otherwise, that Monitor stuff is barely in the main book.
Yeah.
I talked about Final Crisis Revelations. I really like that one. The religious angle is really cool. It's a contained story, but it does have it has meaningful connections to Final Crisis, but you certainly don't need it to read Final Crisis. And I wouldn't say that it helps the main story, but it's a great little thing on its own. That's a ton of fun to read. I like that one. Mm-hmm. I think Legion of Three Worlds is okay. It's a lot of that Superboy Prime stuff. So if you don't like Prime, you're not going to like it, but it does get metafictional and stuff like that. And you do get the Legion of Superheroes, which is always fun to see. And you get some different versions of them, but I think for me, it's Superman Beyond and Revelations. Those are the two tie-ins you really need. There's a Rogues one that's fine, but largely unmemorable, at least for me.
Yeah.
I would say those two, the ones that we've talked about already, are probably the ones that are most fun and most relevant.
And the Aftermath series, yeah.
The Aftermath series is fine, not
remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the same thing actually with the Countdown series that led into it as well. It's like fine, but not stellar. It's not like 52. After Infinite Crisis, 52 was this insanely good weekly series that was like revolutionary. Countdown just wasn't it. Didn't quite get it right.
Yeah. Do you think any of it makes it easier to understand?
Oh, just the Superman Beyond one, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I said, because it just gives you a bit more tie to the Monitor story. The rest of them are, even if they're good contained stories, they don't really...
That's why it was included, right? I mean,
they don't do a ton for you for understanding the main story. You don't really need Legion of Three Worlds to understand that Brainiac 5 showed up for a bit.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's leave Instagram and head on over to Reddit.
Where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
At least to us. First question comes from... PM me Trump nudes.
Fucking insane handle.
I love it. Probably my favorite.
Why would
one.
you make that your username?
That's my favorite one.
Who are you?
I love it. They're just robbing.
Also, have people done it?
I mean, that's even better. Yeah. Where did they get it? Why haven't you posted them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you post them?
No, not like that.
Yeah. New Pornhub category.
Oh God.
All right. I mean, don't call it the White House for nothing. Just come everywhere.
Good Lord.
PM Me Trump Nudes asks, what's the best arc, the best character arc in this story?
Why don't you take that one? I want your opinion of this. Of all the characters that you got to spend some time with in this one, who do you think has maybe the most complete, like, start, middle, end of a story?
That's challenging, right? Because it felt like you almost got one with Overman, but not really.
That's true. Overman, weirdly, you get a lot of him.
Yeah, there's a bit, right?
Yeah.
I think the Fallen Monitor is probably the one you get a really good complete.
Nixuotan? Yeah, he's got a decent one. You do follow him a decent amount.
Yeah, I do. I think that anybody like, oh, I mean, it's Tattoo Man, right? I mean, that's
Tattooed Man's definitely
Tattooed Man has got to be the best one. It's one who like realizes that they're a hero and then sort of comes to terms with that and sort of takes advantage of it and acts like a hero.
And I gotta say, even though he's not really in the main action that much, Superman.
I mean, I don't know if
Superman.
I don't know if it's an arc.
Because Superman sort of starts in this place where Lois gets hurt, and he's basically like, "I can't be Superman right now. This is more important." And literally, the universe is falling apart, and Superman has made his choice.
Yeah, but I don't think he actually changes his mind. Someone just goes, "This is going to happen in a heartbeat. You're fine."
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, "Okay, but this better happen in just a heartbeat."
It's just like timey-wimey.
Yeah, I don't think he actually like makes a decision to choose everybody else over her. He just goes like, all right, only if this is only like a second.
Right.
For me,
that's fair, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's Tattooed Man. He's got the best one. Yeah.
Which is random.
And then Nixuotan.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan Turpin.
Yeah.
It ends really poorly, but you see him start out as this detective. You watch him fight this corrupting influence until he just eventually becomes Darkseid.
Yeah.
It's very sad. It's like a really like tragic fall, but it's
so brutal at moments.
It's maybe one of the best little character threads of that story too, because it's actually got some emotional weight.
Oh, who is the fucking hero that was forgotten inside Limbo?
I can't remember.
That guy.
Can't remember the name. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. I like that guy though. I'm like, I want to know what that guy's whole thing is. And
Limbo was fun.
Yeah. I liked it there. God, if I could only just live there.
In Limbo?
Yeah. No, because then I'm just in a perpetual moment of not achieving anything.
In the empty?
Oh my God. I mean, that's already where I am.
Oh no.
All right. Next question comes from Gogoyz. Gogoyz?
Okay.
Gogoyz.
Gogoyz?
Gogoyz? Sure.
Yeah.
Gogoyz.
Let's go, Goyz. Let's go, Goyz.
Is that just like an inclusive word for men and women?
I thought Goy was like if you weren't Jewish.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Like, let's go, Goys.
Oh,
let's go, non-Jews.
Yeah.
Actually, that doesn't feel inclusive at all. Oh, no.
That's both inclusive and exclusive.
It's both. Yeah, it's both. What did they ask?
It's like you're saying you can do it, Jews.
Oh, no.
Hey, I can say it. It's fine. Gogoyz asks, recite the anti-life equation to see if it's effective.
Okay.
200 episodes plus or minus 200 pounds of dead weight plus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make one little substitution to the anti-life equation. I'm going to see if it works. I'm going to see if it completely subdues your free will.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here we go. Loneliness plus alienation plus fear plus despair plus self-worth divided by mockery divided by condemnation divided by misunderstanding times guilt times shame times failure times judgment. N equals Y, where Y equals hope and N equals folly. Love equals lies. Life equals death. Self equals Dr. DC.
I'm Dr. DC.
Yes, it's happened.
You're not Dr. DC. I'm Dr. DC.
Oh, no, I must have done this wrong. Oh, I didn't do Bedmas. I forgot my order of operations.
Yeah, I'm going to be Dr. DC forever.
Damn it, I did all the addition first.
Yeah. The only way I can be Dr. DC if there's no other doctors.
That's the thing the anti-life equation is missing is brackets and exponents.
Kill all other doctors.
Oh, no.
Yes. Kill doctors.
Yeah, I mean, you would have been on a watch list if you said kill DC, but... I will say there's a fun... Not fun. It's very dark, but there's a cool little section where once the anti-life equation is out there and Darkseid is at full strength, and he says this thing about like, you know, like when I fight, it's with 3 billion fists, and when I like stare into your soul, it's with 6 billion eyes. And everyone is just an extension of Darkseid at that point. Like, that's a cool little moment to visualize the power of the anti-life equation, but the anti-life equation itself is fucking silly.
Well, yeah, it's not actually like there's only a little bit of equation at the beginning, and the rest of it is just like setting up another equation you never actually get.
Yeah.
Because it's like if X is this, and it's like, okay, well now you have to actually put that into practice, though. You have to do like N plus, like you're just setting up rules for an equation that doesn't exist.
That's true, actually, which is very funny. I mean, it's definitely, again, it's that high concept thing. I think it works great with that like depression allegory that the person on Reddit came up with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is funny when you see it in the book, and like, you know, it's this ominous thing, like the anti-life equation, this help, like the justifier helmet goes on their heads, and it just starts with like loneliness plus alienation plus.
You're like, I'm listening.
Go on. Is it the grocery list?
Yeah. I have a bunch of half-written notes that start like that.
That's every song I wrote in high school.
Yeah.
That's
if you can just end it with her purple hair crosses her face.
Darkseid didn't really find the anti-life equation. He just found an old book of poetry and just started reading.
It was just an unused Taking Back Sunday song.
Amazing.
That was the last question.
Wow.
Yeah. So you know what time it is.
Oh, yeah. Time for our game.
Time for everyone's favorite game. Of course, it's Can You Guess the Name of the Character based on how someone who doesn't read comic books described that character to us. So if you don't know the game, what basically it is that my wife doesn't read comic books. I send her a photo of a comic book character, and she sends me clues to guess who that character is. I know who it is. The doctor does not.
All right. And I'm going wrong and strong. I'm going to guess on every clue until I fucking get it.
Just putting fingers in holes, wrong and strong. Eventually I'll get it right.
Oh, no.
All right. Clue number 1.
Is it Orion?
No.
Okay. Just throw it.
I mean, nice try, but no.
You know.
Stop doing that.
Oh, it's not themed anymore?
No. If the eye of Sauron was a vagina.
Okay. If the eye of Sauron was a vagina. Okay. Is it Starro?
It is Starro.
Oh, great. Love that.
Yeah. The other clues were squishy.
Sure.
Wearing those fancy cat eye contacts before they were cool. Are they cool? I have no idea.
Very true.
Has LED pothole lights conveniently on their body. And space octopus?
Yeah, that one would have sealed it. But, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Starro the Conqueror.
Love it.
Amazing.
All right. Well, that is it for this week's episode. We would love to hear from you residents. Did you also get it that quickly?
Yeah. Or must you kneel before Darkseid?
Oh my god. This isn't good. The anti-life equation backfired.
When I guess a character, I guess with 3 billion tongues.
Oh my god.
Ladies.
Mr. Olick, I didn't realize you were here.
Of all the jokes to come full circle.
I mean, talking about come full circle, you get that many tongues.
Good Lord.
Oh God, I can't wait to do this on stage with you. All right. Or maybe you want to send in a question for next week's episode.
Well, yeah, we've recorded next week's episode, but the week after that, we're talking about bat villains. Very broad, very open. We're talking about the inmates of Arkham, basically.
Wow. What a basic bitch episode.
Yeah, so send questions in for that one. But next week's episode, it's already in the can. It's going to be a ton of fun. Somebody save me. We're talking Smallville.
That's right.
That's right.
You can reach us to send questions through our various social media platforms. such as our Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast,
Twitter,
at Dr. DC,
Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast,
email,
drdcpodcast@gmail.com,
go to our Reddit,
r/Dr_DC.
make sure you lock the door if you're coming in. The doc phone is always open.
208-917-3238.
208-917-DCEU. If you're nasty.
No, nasty.
So nasty. Of course, go to our website.
drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
You saw it at the beginning of this episode, or you probably heard it because this is an audio medium. 5-star reviews. We want them. You got them. Give them to us. Give them to us.
Yeah, give them to us. If we get to 100, we're only 5 away. If we get to 100,
we're close enough.
We're gonna release Lord of the Rings mini-series. So same format as this podcast, but about Lord of the Rings. And do you know what? You got the magic number, baby. We were waiting for 95 the whole time.
That's right.
So,
no other numbers.
Starting next week, I guess. Starting in September, we are debuting our brand new podcast. It's a totally separate.
Does this one come out this week or next week?
This one comes out this week.
Oh, okay.
So then next week is the intro.
Oh.
And then the week after that, we start on the actual things.
That's
but
right. Days away.
We're days away from debuting Ghost Facers, a supernatural rewatch podcast
Facers
with Richard and Reed.
That's right, baby.
Strap in. We're buckling up. I'm sitting shotgun and we're going episode by episode through the full series of Supernatural. That's starting in September. So please go. You can get that wherever you get your podcasts, and you'll see that show up soon. We're going to have an intro episode come out, and subscribe and smash the likes and stuff. And
the intro episode might already be out. Who knows?
Holy shit.
My God. Ciao.
Adios.
Bitch.
Oh wait, we didn't even say Patreon. Go to our Patreon. Give us your money, please.
I'm a little baby. I need money to survive.
Yeah, at the $10 level, we'll talk like that to you. But we have a $5 and a $7 level where you get more fun geek content every week, full bonus episodes, video episodes, merch discount. You get to decide episode themes, all sorts of cool stuff, and it helps support us. That's patreon.com/DrDC.
Baby made a duty. Subscribe to my Patreon to see it.
Yeah, subscribe to our OnlyFans.
Yeah, baby makes all the duties there.
They call me the Man of Steel. They call it the Trident.
Wow, that's not what they call me.
Oh,
they call me Mudman.
They call me the Trident because I keep missing, so I'll make 3 dents before I get the right spot. Adios.
Ciao.
They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.